I see the Etorthan detachment, therefore the Galactic Federation, operating and proceeding in the very same way as the Cabal on Earth does, in every way, claiming transparency when it couldn't possibly be more obscure, and changing their plans in an invasive way all the time, because too many star races in Earth's orbit would have asked themselves, and the Etorthans for that matter, why they would remain here, if they are only representatives, but now their permanent presence here is seen as normal, habitual, and after only 1 month here. With this, we can once more see that the Galactic Federation, and the Cabal which controls Earth, are one and the same, only different levels of it.
Now here's a thought. Let's analyze this a little bit. I mean, I don't have the think tank power to like really take this the whole way, but let's look at the mistakes that we've made as Earth humans that have allowed this cabal to take root, take hold, and take control of the populations of Earth. And see, look through our history, if we can look through our history well enough, that it hasn't been faked and altered on purpose and destroyed and contrived, and you know, they mess with our history all the time. But if from off planet we can look at the history of Earth, what mistakes were made that allowed the cabal to take root and take control? And perhaps understanding those mistakes, assess from an off-planet perspective a civilization, a planetary group or a race, the various thousands of races of civilized planets, part of the Federation. Would it be possible for them to see the mistakes that were made on Earth in time to not make those same mistakes? It's not looking at the surface mistakes, it's looking deeper within. What is going on? What did the Earth humans do or not do when the cabal started taking control? How did they get into control, and what did the humans not do to shake that off? What did they not realize? What did they not see? Or how were they deceived? And, you know, learn from how we were deceived, and don't be deceived in the same way off-planet civilized planets that are part of the Galactic Federation. Please take notice. And maybe that's exactly what the planetary presence, the ET presence here is doing. Thousands of ships, probably thousands of representatives from various advanced races, human and non-human, but they are progressive and loving and nurturing of freedom and awakening and awareness, consciousness, and expansion in a loving way. If that's their persuasion, then maybe that's what they're here doing, observing, and hopefully from this perspective off planet, we can gain a foothold in fixing the problem before it gets way out of hand like it's gotten on Earth. Okay? So we'll just see.
Contrary to at least most of all the other star races, who are more or less permanently in Earth's orbit, the Etorthans do not have any star seeds in human bodies, or so it is claimed. When the main reason all those star races remain in Earth's orbit is to monitor their star seeds, who are simply seen as more of them, as more members of their race, so they have the moral and ethical obligation to keep at least a small detachment here, to provide support to their people, even if it is only telepathic, non-invasive communication, of the type that their star seeds may even confuse with their own thoughts.
Yeah.
Coming back to the Etorthans and what happens right after they arrive here, even if they go away again after their visit, just as I said, important changes start to happen on Earth. It is still soon to know, but an example of this is the strong friction that is happening right now between Texas and the central government in Washington, D.C. about how to manage the border problems with the entrance of innumerable illegal immigrants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point, Marie. That is contrived. I mean, a person like myself, and probably like you that are watching this sort of thing, already get it, already know that the cabal is behind this. And those factions that are pushing the agenda of open borders, it's not healthy and good for our nation. And the Texans know it. The Texas government, Texas has enough control of their own governing bodies that they've got someone that will stand for Texas as a sovereign state in the United States. And this entire conflict is contrived to get public opinion moving in one direction or another. Also, usually they have multiple agendas, the cabal, whether it's Earth cabal or off-planet cabal. The extremely well planned out think tank stuff, what we would consider geniuses of geopolitical issues. They know what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they're working on their plans, and they're trying to move the public opinion in a certain direction. We may not know what it is, but we are seeing the problem. There's tension at the Texas border. And we see the tension between the state government and the federal government. And with tension like this, and with a Supreme Court controlled by the cabal, they've got it's called infiltrate the Supreme Court, hijack the Supreme Court, and consolidate the Supreme Court into their control domination structure on Earth. That would be my theory. So, with that said, the idea would be whatever is going on between federal and state government, it's not just when they pass a law in the Supreme Court on subjects like this, it's not just going to affect Texas, it's going to affect every state and every citizen in every state. So whatever plan they have in place, they want to push the agenda, duke it out, and we know, the Texans know what's best for their state sovereignty. You don't open the borders to massive millions, thousands and thousands and thousands every year crossing the border illegally. And it's as simple. You put up a fence, you put up a border wall. You let the other nations know you mean business, and this isn't going to work. You're not going to just storm our borders and walk across. Okay, not going to happen. But because we have the cabal in control, deep state, shadow government, all that stuff, in controlling our governing bodies, then you're going to have this kind of conflict between the federal and the state government. This also includes human trafficking and trafficking of children and guns and drugs and all this stuff. Open borders, it's not just poor refugees, which there are poor refugees that could use some love and compassion and help. But we have to consider what's really going on, or what else is going on, which is the human trafficking, the drug trafficking, and the weakening of America by diluting the workforce at the entrance level of work, by having these thousands and thousands and thousands of immigrants illegally coming into the country. Massive mess up. Okay, so on a Supreme Court level, if they get their way, they will pass some new laws regarding state and federal power. Who has more power over this, that, or the other thing regarding issues that are faced by the population of a state? With that said, predictably, the cabal is going to push for Supreme Court legislation that will empower the federal government and give the federal government yet another stronger foothold legally to control and dominate a state government. which means the people of that state. I'm just saying. That's how I see it. And we were warned, the forefathers have warned us about letting the federal government be the have more control than our state governments. It's called federalism, and then there was the anti-federalists when we were still kicking around the Bill of Rights and trying to get this thing worked out smoothly with a balance of power. Anyway, let's continue.
With this, many conspiracy theories are now saying that there is talk of civil war in the US. Let me remind you that whenever there is a conflict at that level, both sides are being controlled by the same cabal power group from under the table.
Yeah.
This means that the conflict is artificial and to cause a pre-planned outcome.
Yeah. The sensible human being or the citizen of a state in the United States of America would probably go, no, civil war is not a good idea. There's a better, smarter way to handle this and do this properly. But as is usually the case in any war, global or civil wars, doesn't matter, the cabal is really pulling the strings on both sides. And they will have their agents, groups, factions, etc., acting as if, pretending to be for the people, not the federal, but for the state people. And they are demanding freedoms and demanding their rights and pushing to go to war. And it's part of the contrived, let's start a war here because the cabal will profit from both sides, especially being in control of both sides. And they already know who's going to win and what the outcome's going to be because of their ability to control both sides. And it will just cause a lot of destruction and pain and suffering, which the cabal loves and profits from. They profit from war and death. Always have, always will. Financially, and in blood and destruction and rebuilding and all of it, including the missing children and the missing bodies and the missing people and the missing body parts. It's gruesome, and including the selling of blood, getting blood donors and blood drives for all the poor. They profit both sides. They know the dynamics of all huge phenomena of a war. So, yeah. So it would be our job to sort out a way to resolve this, solve this, without a civil war. Because the civil war, the people of Texas, or let's say a lot of states went with Texas, and then against the federal government and the federal military versus the state military and all that stuff. It's going to be a no-win situation for the people. I believe. It could be wrong. I'm just speculating here. I don't have any of the details, and I'm just talking and sharing and pretty much elaborating on some concepts and ideas that Maria is sharing with us. Okay, here we go.
And let me remind you of the deadly earthquake that struck Japan at the beginning of January.
I don't know anything about it. I don't follow the news, but I've been following the cabal for many years before I said, I get it. I don't need to know the details. Maybe I'm assuming too much. But that earthquake, contrived. There's technology right now on planet Earth, HARP and other things, HARRP, microwave technology that can control weather, tornado action, hurricanes, cyclones, earthquakes, volcanoes, and these quote natural disasters probably are not natural. They're contrived. Or maybe a volcano is going to go off somewhere in the next 100 years and they can make it go off sooner or later. And same with an earthquake or a fault line. They can take a weak spot and then, yeah. And the cabal, they do this. If you take a deep dive and study weather manipulation, weather wars, and how would it be possible to control the path of a hurricane, you would see that, oh, that's what they're doing, and you will also know how they do it. So earthquake, Japan, I don't know any of the details, but I'm pretty sure it was contrived. And what you do is you look under the surface. Why this earthquake? Why now? Why in this country or that country? What's it doing to the public attention? And it's a problem globally if it's a major disaster, earthquake, and there'll be a reaction and a predictable solution. Or sometimes they will use these massive geophysical disasters to take the public attention away from something else that is going on that they're trying to hide and cover up with the news cycles. They don't want you to be looking at this. They would rather you looked at that. Okay. So there's a lot of that sort of trickery going on as well. All right.
Just saying. Oof.
3 hours after the Etorphans arrived, and which looks more like an artificial offering to the Cabal's returning gods. Now let me say
Now,
this.
did you catch that? An artificial, and people died, an artificial offering to Earth Cabal's gods. Now, she just said that in passing, but that's how they think of this stuff. They think of, and they look at, there's a lot of the super rich power elite here and there, not naming any names. It's a theory, just so you know, that there are some super rich power elite that are satanic. They're in the black magic, ritual, sacrifice, human sacrifice. You can take a deep dive into that subject, learn all you need to know, and then get out of it, but you will realize that there's a lot of that going on, and they look to and look toward and honor and worship non-human entities. Give them a name, doesn't matter what you call them, but they're non-human entities. And gods, demons, etc. Okay, so yeah. They're worshiping and acknowledging their off-planet gods. With human sacrifice through earthquakes. That's what I got from that quickie there. Just science fiction, just my story, okay?
Now let me say this, for those of you who may still think that I am unjustly bashing the Galactic Federation of Love and Light, and thinking that I have no idea of what it really is. What I am, and have been depicting in my videos here, looks nothing like what the New Age has been selling the public at least since the decade of the 70s, where it is said that it is a confederation made of positive and loving, benevolent light beings who can only have our best interests in mind. So, it may be easy to conclude that what I have been describing here is not the Galactic Federation, but it is, because I have this organization here close at hand, and I can tell you that there are many levels to it, and it is not as described with that New Age wishful thinking, everything is good, mentality.
No.
Everything is complicated, much more so when involving thousands of very different star races, who have been forced to cooperate and mingle with one another. Furthermore, there are also levels to it that depend on densities, and the perception capacity and agreements of each group of people, and individuals. What the New Age describes as the Galactic Federation of Love and Light does exist, but it is at another level, another much lighter density, in the higher astral, where things are much lighter and where integration is much more advanced, therefore it only can flow with love.
Yeah, it's a good point. Another tactic that the Cabal uses is they mix lies with truth. They use truth as bait. I call it a bullshit sandwich. There's instead of bread on the top and bottom, with the meat inside, the meat is the truth, and the bullshit is the sandwich. So you sandwich the. You can do it either way. You sandwich the good stuff is sandwiched with some bullshit at the front end. Love and light. Galactic Federation is love and light. Sananda and the star races and all this wonderful bullshit walking in. But now you get to the meat of it, and it's true. It's true for. It's the agreed upon reality that you hold with others of your kind. And you go, yeah, that's true. I believe that. You believe it because you agree with it and it's true, and they know you agree with it and believe it, that it's true. And so that's the meat that they put in there to keep you eating this bullshit, gobbling up the bullshit. And then there's, at the end, it gets a little fuzzy, but you believe so much of the truth stuff that you go, well, how could it possibly, I don't quite understand this other stuff they're saying, but they were saying so much truth here in the meat of this message that, what? I suppose, probably, why would they lie? Right? And so you start believing the other side of it, that you have no way of really believing it, except it's an assumption based on your conviction that the meat was right on. And yeah, it is right on. That's the freaking bait. Bullshit sandwich, man. They've been doing it for years and years, thousands probably, or millions. But yeah, notice that. Pay attention to that sort of thing. So this whole Galactic Federation of Light, it's all about love and light. Yeah, there's some truth in that. It's like Marie says, it's higher up, it's out there. And you are connected with the higher up and out there. Yeah, so you will sense the truth of the true part of the bullshit sandwich.
But anyway.
But people there, if we can still call them that way, don't need clumsy metal starships to move around because they have mastered the perception of distance, locations, and time.
Yeah.
I just described this in my video about light beams, published just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, the Galactic Federation has many levels, and the very name does not, and cannot apply to all those levels. But even though some parts of what the New Age describes to be the Galactic Federation of Love and Light may be true, they do end up mixing those higher planes of existence with the lower and denser ones those of us who inhabit biological bodies must live in.
Yeah.
Mix that ends up being highly unrealistic. But even though this level of the Galactic Federation is also said to be good, and many people, not to say star races, are good individuals, there is still a bothersome angle to all of this, and it is that even though they may have their very metaphysical reasons not to intervene, and even though they may see life on Earth as a game, from our point of view as incarnated individuals, on Earth or off-planet alike, there is a big problem. And that problem is that no matter from what angle you may study the complex situation on Earth, or from what density or existential level, it is always unethical to be permissive towards the real suffering experience that is happening on that planet.
Right, yeah, and this is part of that. They will throw in a lot of deep spiritual truth that it's difficult not to agree with. We create our own reality. We are responsible. It's a matrix. It's a mind matrix. It's this reality that we're experiencing. We are creating the cabal ourselves, and we are creating the wars. It's all on us. We are the creator beings. Yeah, it's true. And there these the cabal. There's going to be egregors, which are informational, energetic thought forms, entities that we create with our thought, and the mass consciousness, thinking the same things, are agreeing to same bad guys, and we are thus creating and this negative issue that we're experiencing on Earth. But that's just a little bit of the truth. That's just another bullshit sandwich, as far as I'm concerned. And Marie makes a really good point. Yeah, that part might be true. However, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a spiritual master to see that what's going on planet Earth is so wrong on so many levels. One key point is that we manifest our reality by what we think and feel. Well, geez, it doesn't take a genius to go, well, so all I got to do is manipulate them and control what they think about and what they feel. And being an ET, advanced tech kind of being, you can go, oh, I can do that. I can make that person think this and feel that. All I have to do is put something in the news about some war, and now I have the audience thinking about some war and have an emotional response to it. And the thinking about it and feeling about it brings about it on a mass level. And all I did, if I was one of the bad guys, is plug some bullshit, soupy sandwich, headliner news, and dump it on all the various social platforms and get a big buzz going, and have my group of psyops types buzzing it up, talking about the fear-mongering of whatever. And now you've got the mass consciousness of a nation or a world thinking and feeling about something, and that's all it takes to manifest it on a mass level. And then the argument is that, well, they are thinking it and they are having feelings about it. They are manifesting their problems themselves. Yeah. And the cabal is behind the fear-mongering and the controlling and the dominating of what we think about and what we feel about, and thus bring about. Too simple.
And I say this, being well aware of the soul and consciousness expanding effects of hardship. A final note about my last video about light beings. There is something that is not clear enough, and it is that we are all light beings, the real people, not the NPCs, and not the egregores, which more often than not are aggressive demons. It is often said that a soul seeks expansion, as in one day they will finally come to the level of a light being. This expression may only be used for explicatory reasons, and
yeah. There's this, I don't know what Marie's going to say next. I haven't watched this video yet. I'm just watching it now and responding as we go. But there's one theory or way to look at life is that we're baby souls, so to speak, or new souls, new beings with not a lot of experience, and through lifetime after lifetime of incarnating, we grow in experience and we develop character and we aspire to greater and greater greatness, and we become these wonderful beings of light called the ascension experience. Fine, if you want to go with that, great. But there's another look at it, is that you and I are already, we are great consciousness, incredibly unfathomable, incomprehensible in our consciousness. And there is just consciousness. There's not individuals. But this consciousness thus chooses to consider itself to be an individual, another individual, or have all these points of view, and can assume all those points of view at once, or decide to assume one and not know from this one point of view that it's these other points of view. Or it can assume all these points of views and know it's one with consciousness, but look upon itself as not realizing, oh look, there's a part of me that doesn't realize it's the one consciousness. And all these others are just going, But it's all great and deep in this weird, deep way. And through playing the game of consecutive linear experience, you just get into a point of view and you consider, oh, time is linear, life is linear, oh, this happened, then this, then this, then this, and that is my past, and that's going to be my future. If you play that game, you're playing a limited understanding of reality and consciousness game as an individual. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what that is. But that being that you are has a higher level of, or deeper level of character and personality and knowing who and what it really is, and it gets it. That it is not a being that has to go through lifetime after lifetime to evolve into something great and wonderful. No, we are already beyond great and wonderful, and we're playing the game of human, and we're playing the game of linear time. And there's a way to look at it and understand that that's not how it is. And this idea of having to go through a linear experience to gain enough experience and wisdom to become an ascended being or an awakened one, no. That's not how it works. Not from my point of view, anyway. Might work that way for you, though, but no, I don't think so. Anyway, Marie, please continue.
May be highly misleading. A soul is already a light being by definition, and they are only playing not to be one while incarnated in a biological body for very complicated reasons.
Yeah.
A soul is only in the process of remembering what it is, a light being. Be enlightened by not seeking enlightenment. Seeking will only keep you in the state of search and of incompletion. You already know what's best for you, so don't let the unconscious programming of the mind keep you repeating those destructive routines, just because it is easier to follow what is expected you should be doing at each time. I think this is a subject to go into in detail with another video. So this will be all for today.
Okay.
Thank you for watching my video, and for liking and subscribing. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope to see you here next time. Take care. With much love, your friend, Marie Soireau.
You're welcome, Marie. Thank you so much for what you're doing. You're really helping out, and I really appreciate you being there for us, as well as Yaski and Athena and the whole Tigetan team. All right. So thank you very much. Talk to you later. And thank you for watching my commentary, and share your thoughts and comments below. And if you enjoy these, let me know if they're helping or you find them educational or entertaining or whatever. Okay. All right. Bye-bye now.